Fabián Ruiz, Messi, Mbappe, Dembele, Kane, Olise, Rodri, Ferran Torres, Yamal. All of them are favorites to win the Ballon d'Or this year, but only one man walks home with that trophy. So who do I think wins it? Let's get into it. A World Cup year is the hardest year to judge the Ballon d'Or. In a normal year, voters just look at one season. Who won the league? Who went far in the Champions League? Who scored the goals that mattered? This year, they need to look at all of that, plus a World Cup. That changes the whole math. A player can have a quiet club season and still win the award if he carries his country through the tournament. Or a player can dominate all year for his club and still lose it if his country goes out early. This is why the World Cup year always splits opinion. And this time, the split is bigger than usual. Normally, even in a World Cup year, one name sits above the rest. People argue, but deep down, most agree who the favorite is. Not this year. Look at the list. Messi, Mbappe, Dembele, Kane, Olise, Rodri, Ferran Torres, Yamal. Every one of them has a real case. None of them has a clear one. That has not happened in a long time. And here are some of the top contenders. Let's start with the name everyone brings up first, Messi. At 39, most people expected him to sit back and let the young players carry Argentina. Instead, he carried them. He scored against Cape Verde in the round of 32. He was the difference against Egypt in the round of 16. He starred against Switzerland in the quarterfinal. Against England in the semifinal, he did it again. 8 goals, 4 assists, 12 goal contributions in one tournament at an age most players have already retired. Here's what makes it bigger than 2022. This Argentina team wasn't stacked. They didn't walk into the tournament as favorites. This squad needed Messi to create, to unlock defenses, to settle games when nerves took over. And every time they needed him, he showed up. Spain beat them in the final. That's the only part of the story that didn't go his way. But step back and look at what he still walks away with. 3 World Cup finals in one career, in his 6th World Cup at 39 years old. No player his age has ever done that. That's why his Ballon d'Or case grew the moment Argentina reached the final. The award always leans heavily on the World Cup because it's the biggest stage in the sport. Before the tournament, Messi wasn't near the top of most people's list. After it, several rankings put him right at the front. And here's the real point. Nothing he could have done for his club this season would have moved the needle as this tournament did. A 39-year-old captaining his country to another final, producing numbers like that against the best teams on earth. Voters can't look past that. Lose the final and people still remember the run. That's the power Messi still has. But a player that has a higher chance than Messi is Fabián Ruiz. He doesn't have the fame of Mbappe or Messi, but look at what he actually won this season, and his case might be stronger than anyone's. It started with PSG in League One. Luis Enrique built his whole system around midfield control, and Fabian was the man making it work. He linked defense to attack, kept the ball moving under pressure, and came back from a knee injury at exactly the right moment to help PSG close out the title. Then came the Champions League. Dembele took the headlines with goals. Fabian did the quieter work, controlling tempo, dictating possession, giving PSG the platform to dominate the best teams in Europe. That platform is what got PSG their first and second ever Champions League trophy. Most players would call that season complete. Fabian kept going. At the World Cup, he lined up next to Rodri in Spain's midfield, and together they became the engine of the whole team. He started the final against Argentina. He played a direct role in Spain becoming world champions. Add it up, League One, the Champions League, and the World Cup, all in one season. Not as a substitute, not as a squad player, as a starter every single time. Compare that to the other names in this race. Mbappe had the numbers but no trophy. Kane won at home but fell short in Europe and at the World Cup. Messi reached the final but lost it. Fabian won all 3 of the biggest prizes in football and started in every one. Will that be enough to win him the Ballon d'Or? That's where it gets uncertain. This award usually goes to the player with the loudest stats or the biggest name, and Fabian has neither. But if the Ballon d'Or is really about who did the most to win football's biggest trophies, nobody else in this race can match him. Next up, a 19-year-old who just had one of the best defensive tournaments we've seen in years. Pau Cubarsí. Rodri won the Golden Ball, and he deserved it, but ask yourself who Spain's 3rd most important player was, and Cubarsí has a real claim to that spot. He doesn't defend like a teenager. He defends like someone who's done this for 15 years. Calm on the ball, always a step ahead, reading the game instead of reacting to it. Against Portugal, against France, against Argentina, he never once looked out of his depth. Look at the number behind it. Spain conceded 1 goal in the entire World Cup. 1. Against attacks that good, that's almost unheard of. Portugal couldn't get through him. France couldn't get through him. Argentina, a team that scored freely all tournament, walked into the final and found nothing. That defensive record is one of the biggest reasons Spain lifted the trophy, and Cubarsí was at the center of it every single game. He topped it off by winning Best Young Player. Some are calling his performance in the final the best game of his career so far. Now zoom out to his full season. La Liga, the Spanish Super Cup, the World Cup, 3 major trophies, and he's still 18 years old. Here's the problem for him. Defenders rarely win the Ballon d'Or. Since Cannavaro in 2006, 6, nobody in his position has come close. But an 18-year-old shutting down the best attackers on the planet at a World Cup wasn't supposed to be possible either. Cubarsí just did it anyway. Now to the man who actually won the Golden Ball, Rodri. If this award is meant for the player who did the most to win football's biggest prize, very few can match what he did this year. He didn't just help Spain win the World Cup, he ran it. Everything Spain did went through him. When to slow the game down, when to speed it up, when to switch play, all of it came from his feet. FIFA called him the master and commander behind Spain's win, and that's not an exaggeration. Take the semi-final against France. France have one of the scariest attacks in world football, and for 90 minutes they chased shadows. Why? Because Rodri never gave the ball away. Spain kept possession, recycled it patiently, and only struck when the moment was actually there. That's what took France's legs and their belief. Then came the final. Against Argentina, Rodri completed 101 out of 105 passes. He won 80% of his duels. He created 2 chances. Spain won 1-0 after extra time, and he was the reason the game never slipped away from them. Across the whole tournament, Spain conceded 1 goal. Rodri's work in front of the back 4 had a lot to do with that. That alone makes him a serious contender. But he didn't stop at the World Cup. He also won the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup with his club before flying out to lift the biggest trophy in football. And here's the part that works in his favor more than anyone else in this race. He's won the Ballon d'Or before. Voters already know what he brings to a team, even when it doesn't show up on a stat sheet. You won't see him scoring hat tricks. What you'll see is a team that suddenly looks organized, controlled, and impossible to break, because he's on the pitch. Then we also have Mbappe, who is a possible contender. Real Madrid didn't have the trophy-filled season people expected, but individually Mbappe was on another level. 42 goals, 7 assists across every competition. That's close to a goal contribution every single game. His Champions League campaign takes it even further. 15 goals in just 11 matches. Top scorer in the whole competition. Nobody's dominated Europe's biggest tournament like that since peak Ronaldo. And these weren't goals against weak sides. He did this against the best teams on the continent. Then the World Cup arrived and somehow he found another gear. 10 goals, 4 assists, Golden Boot winner, and now the all-time top scorer in World Cup history with 22 career goals. 14 goal contributions across 7 games. Every time France needed a goal, he was usually the one delivering it. So here's the question. How does a player with numbers like that not walk away with this award? France's exit is the answer. Spain knocked them out in the semi-final, and that one match cost Mbappe a shot at the final. In Ballon d'Or voting, when the top candidates all have incredible stats, team success becomes the deciding factor. Rodri and Cubarsí lifted the World Cup. Mbappe's tournament ended 1 game earlier. The same story played out at club level. Real Madrid didn't win the Champions League or the league title, and voters have always leaned heavily on those 2 trophies. That's what makes this race so interesting. If you're judging on pure numbers, nobody touches a season with 42 goals for his club, 15 in 11 Champions League games, and 10 more at the World Cup. But football isn't only about numbers. And this year, that gap between individual brilliance and team success is exactly what's keeping Mbappe out of the top spot. Another name that has flown under the radar all season, despite putting up numbers that belong to a different era, Harry Kane. While everyone's been talking about Rodri, Mbappe, and Messi, Kane quietly had one of the best goal-scoring seasons this sport has seen in over 10 years. 61 goals, 7 assists for Bayern Munich, and he did it while helping the club sweep every domestic trophy on offer. His season wasn't just about Germany either. He pushed Bayern into the Champions League semi-final, proving once again that he shows up on the biggest European nights. Bayern fell short of the final, but Kane stayed the focal point of one of the most dangerous attacks on the continent. Clinical in front of goal, sharp in his link-up play, leading from the front. Then he took that same form straight into the World Cup. 6 goals, 1 assist. England reached the semi-final before Argentina ended their run. Kane still finished among the tournament's top scorers, still delivered when his country needed him, and once again reminded everyone why he's one of the most complete strikers in the world. Here's what separates his case from a pure stat patter. He backed it up with silverware, 3 trophies with Bayern, including the Bundesliga title and the German Super Cup. On top of that, the European Golden Shoe for finishing as the continent's top league scorer. Now put club and country together, over 70 goals in a single season. That's a number football hasn't seen since the peak years of Ronaldo and Messi. Most players are considered world-class at 40 goals a season. Kane went almost double that and did it while winning trophies at every turn. Then we also have Lamine Yamal. At first glance, his World Cup numbers look thin. 1 goal, 1 assist. That's it, in a tournament where Spain lifted the trophy. But numbers only tell you half the story here. Watch the actual games and you'll see a teenager who wasn't scared of anyone. He took on the best defenders in the world and beat them. He picked out passes that most players twice his age wouldn't even attempt. He even put in real defensive work, tracking back when Spain needed it. Now compare that to his club season, where the numbers finally match the eye test. 24 goals, 18 assists, across every competition for Barcelona, back-to-back La Liga titles. He's already established himself as the biggest attacking threat at Camp Nou since one man, Messi. And that comparison isn't just something we're throwing out for effect. Messi was 22 when he won his first Ballon d'Or. Yamal is only 19, and he's already building the kind of resume that could get him there faster. Whether this is his year or not, one thing is clear. He's not just the future of this race. He's already part of the conversation right now. We also have the current Ballon d'Or winner in contention also, Ousmane Dembele. Last year, he won the Ballon d'Or off the back of a season nobody could ignore. He was the driving force behind PSG's first ever Champions League title, and he scored 35 goals across every competition to get there. This season, he had to prove that wasn't a one-off. PSG defended both their League One title and their Champions League crown, and Dembele was right there again, delivering when it mattered most. 20 goals in total, 2 against Liverpool in the quarterfinal, a brace against Bayern in the semifinal, and PSG's only goal in the final against Arsenal. Notice a pattern there? Every big goal came in a knockout round, against the biggest opponents left in the competition. That's not luck, that's a player built for the moments that actually decide trophies. Then came the World Cup, and this is where his story gets more interesting. He wasn't even playing in his best position. France used him out wide for most of the tournament, away from the central role where he does his most damage, and he still finished with 6 goals for his country. So here's the real question hanging over his case. He's already proven he can carry a team to the Champions League from central areas. Now he's shown he can still produce goals from a role that isn't even his. That's not the profile of a one-season wonder. That's a player finding ways to deliver no matter where you put him on the pitch. Last name on this list, and honestly, one that deserves way more credit than he's getting, Michael Olise. He finished the World Cup as the leading assist provider in the entire tournament. 7 assists. That curling delivery of his, that perfectly weighted pass. Defenders simply couldn't deal with it. He might be frustrated he didn't score more in North America, but look at what he'd already done at club level before the tournament even started. 22 goals for Bayern Munich in the 2025-26 season. Bundesliga title, DFB Pokal title, and that's only the smaller half of his story. 31 assists, more than any player in world football this season. Not just in Germany, the entire sport. He walked away with the Bundesliga Player of the Season award, and after a campaign like that, nobody can argue it wasn't deserved. Here's the one thing working against him. No Champions League, no World Cup. In a race full of players lifting the biggest trophies in the sport, that gap stands out. But strip away the trophies for a second and just look at the output. A left foot producing more assists than anyone else on the planet, in a season that also delivered the league and the cup at home. Olise might not be the loudest name in this race. He shouldn't be the most overlooked one either. So there you have it. Every name in the running for this year's Ballon d'Or. Who actually wins it? I'll keep that one to myself. But if you're asking for my top 3, here they are. In order: Fabián Ruiz, Rodri, Yamal. Let me know down in the comments who you think takes it home. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel also. Thank you.